album. Melancholy continues this exciting style of writing laced with ear candy, but complements it with this dense atmosphere that's enchanted yet frigid and dismal at the same time. Melancholy is kind of like a combination between the prelude to Bereavement and the Return, in that it lets the listener in on the atmosphere immediately, and also builds up tension in this slow, thematic way like the prelude to Bereavement did, but with these fun, energetic strings and piano, kind of like the Return. And it builds up and then later explodes into ferocity that continues for pretty much the duration of the album. The chorus of Gravesinger grabs the listener by the heart and refuses to let go. The oppressive and malevolent atmosphere of Barren and Breathless Macrocosm is complemented by some of the greatest riffs this band's ever written, and overall it's just one of the funnest Shadow of Intent songs. Underneath the Soul and Moon is one of the best Shadow of Intent songs. The vocals, the lyrics, the drums, the guitar, the keyboard, the composition, the bass, and everything else is firing on all cylinders. I hadn't talked a whole lot about the lyrics of this band, but make no mistake, they're as well written as the music is. This song opens up with an atmospheric section that, again, just grabs the listener by the heart, preceded by some technical death metal that's as good as Nile, and then goes into the chorus that has some guitar that's pretty far in the background, kind of hard to hear, but very much worth hearing. The chorus of this song really just bludgeons the depressing atmosphere into you even further. The breakdown here too is just great. I'm not entirely sure why it's so good, but it is. This song ends with one of the most heartfelt sections of any Shadow of Intent, probably the most heartfelt section of any Shadow of Intent song. Overall, this song's just great. Odiniophobia is a nice little ballad, and Embracing Nocturnal Damnation is another B+ song on an A+ album. This song takes a lot from Dimmu Borgir, and to be honest, I prefer them just being Shadow of Intent. Dirge of the Void and Chthonic Odyssey need to be talked about together. Both of these songs sound a bit more optimistic than the rest of the album, kind of like a ray of sunshine coming into this otherwise bleak, dismal atmosphere, which is really cool. Both of these songs dig into melodic death metal to devastating effects, and both of these songs are tied for some of the greatest choruses in this band's discography. The Dreaded Mystic Abyss is one of the best written songs you will ever hear. This song is chock full of some of the most phenomenal drumming, guitar, and piano that's out there. This song, from beginning to end, is this 10-minute long journey of just magnificence. There are, I think, 5 guitar solos here. All of them are incredible, and there's not a moment of wankery in them, in my opinion. This song goes between these slow, atmospheric parts where the piano dominates that are just absolutely gorgeous, and the atmosphere really soaks into your soul in these sections. Then there are these epic parts throughout the song as well that just build the tension up, and it eventually releases with these cataclysmic, dark, kind of blackened guitar riffs that, again, just pierce through your soul. I can't express how much this song is a masterpiece. No matter what song followed the Dreaded Mystic Abyss, it was always going to be a little bit disappointing, just because the Dreaded Mystic Abyss is so goddamn awesome. But for a song that had to follow in such huge footsteps, Malediction does pretty well. This song is the somber, depressing end to Melancholy, and closes out the story pretty well. Overall, this album is again up there with some of my all-time favorites. A B- album for most bands is pretty good, but a B- album when your discography is filled with A and A+ material is pretty bad. I hate to say it, but that, I think, is the case with Eulogy. It's hard to say why this album isn't as good as the others. I think part of it is that the other three are filled with these ear candy sections of guitar solos, drum solos, piano solos, and just all these sections that seemingly almost come out of nowhere but are really well written and enjoyable. Whereas with Eulogy, those sections are few and far between, and those that are there just aren't as good. Farewell manages to have a lot going on and be pretty complex, while still managing to be pretty flat somehow. The Saron King is a highlight on this album. Some of the guitar work here is still just great, and there is an ear candy section in this bridge that's just phenomenal. The Coming Fire has a magnificent chorus, but most of the song's pretty boring. Of Fury is definitely the best song on the album. It's probably their catchiest song, and the piano here is really good and up there with their other stuff. Intensified Genocide is a very enjoyable song to listen to, and I really love the ending of this song in particular. Life of Exile is a somewhat better ballad than Odiniophobia was. The first half of this album is significantly better than the second half, where Millions Have Come to Die has, I think, the most boring breakdown in their entire discography, and to be honest, sadly, I just don't care for this song all that much. I've tried to get into this album, and I've listened to it a lot, but I can't even remember From Ruin We Rise. Reconquest is more in the vein of The Great Schism than the dreaded Mystic Abyss, which I kinda get because it was impossible to follow up that song, but Reconquest kinda has the vibe that they felt obligated to make an instrumental, because this song really didn't need to be one compared to, the other instrumentals they had. It's a good song, but it's also perhaps the most disappointing song on the album, just because the dreaded Mystic Abyss was so good and this is the album's instrumental. In spite of the cheesy title, Adapt, Devise, Overcome was something I was really excited for, because, seeing a 3-part song from Shadow of Intent sounded like it would be really cool, but again, it was pretty boring, to be honest. Overall, the first half of this album's actually pretty good. Saron King, The Coming Fire, Of Fury, Intensified Genocide, and Life of Exile are all very good songs, but the rest of this album just overall is pretty boring, which I hate to say because I adore this band, and I'm not trying to throw shit at them or anything. That's just, my opinion, of course, but yeah.